How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Hip Drop Podcast. Lucas and I are back. We will be previewing week 6, as well as talking about some other storylines in the NFL, some quarterback moves, a quarterback trade that I compare to shuffling chairs in the Titanic. Again, we'll make our picks for week 6. Lucas and I did not do great on our picks in week 5 due to the amount of upsets last week. A lot of surprises. The Eagles, the Bills, the Chiefs all lose. Time same week in a while. I read a stat somewhere. But Lucas, first of all, how are you feeling on this Wednesday?
I'm feeling pretty good. My second love, the NHL, has started their season. Owen, can you hear me? Okay, there we go. You cut off for a little bit. Yeah. My second love
Yeah.
has started their season, the NHL. Glad it's back. Go Bolts. I'm kind of wearing a Lightning shirt tonight. But yeah, I'm
Oh,
feeling
nice.
okay about overall, but maybe not about the NFL because we might talk about that team in a little bit.
Yeah, and Lucas and I kind of went on a rant about the team that we primarily cover losing a pretty embarrassing game to the Jacksonville Jaguars on Monday. But that's in the past. We move forward, and it's a long season. But first of all, Lucas, the AFC is a pretty wild conference right now. There are 7 teams that have a winning record. The Chiefs are not one of them. But it's a conference you look at and say, like, who's really great in this conference? And you'd be tempted to say the Bills, but the Bills have shown some concerning trends. They're struggling to blow out bad teams at home. Their defense is not very good. Their coaching is pretty questionable, in my opinion, with Sean McDermott there. Um, I think they're probably the best at the moment, but there's a lot of kind of surprising teams that we did not really think much of going to the year that have, 1 or 2 losses. And those teams are the Indianapolis Colts, the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Denver Broncos, the Los Angeles Chargers, and the New England Patriots. Those 6 teams would be the other 6 playoff teams in the AFC, in addition to the Buffalo Bills. Lucas, despite their disappointing performance on Sunday night, I think you and I both agree that the Bills are contenders still. They absolutely are. There's a reason they're one of the favorites to win the Super Bowl. But those other 6 teams, you can debate whether they are or not. And we'll just go one by one. We'll just give a little blurb on like why we think they're a contender, why we think they're a pretender. And I will start with the Indianapolis Colts. That's a team that I would argue has been probably the most impressive AFC team up to this point. They're currently the 1 seed at the moment. Their 1 loss is to the Rams, a game in which they led late. So the Colts are 4-1, and the argument against the Colts is they haven't really beaten anybody that's good. They've beaten the Dolphins, they've beaten the Titans, they've beaten the Raiders. They did beat the Broncos, but it took kind of a miracle penalty. The Broncos kind of shooting themselves in the foot at the end of that game for the Colts to win at home. So, Lucas, do you think the Colts are legitimate contenders, or do you think this is kind of going to fizzle out later in the year?
I I'm gonna say no. Like if you made me pick one side or the other, I'm gonna say they're not contenders. But like I think they're at they're the upper echelon of like the maybes. Like
Okay.
just because I think they have such a strong record now that if they can keep up the pace and get to like 13-4, they could realistically be a 2 seed. And like if you get to the 2 seed, like you're one upset away in the divisional round from hosting the AFC Championship. So I think logistically, them and another team we'll talk about in their division very shortly. I think they are good. So I don't think they're gonna like fizzle out and like miss the playoffs or like go 7-10. But I do think they're gonna be in the playoffs. They're gonna win like 10, maybe 11 games. And then if they get a high enough seed, like anything can happen. But I don't trust them. I'm not going to pick them against Buffalo or Kansas City to win a playoff game. So, and I wouldn't really trust them against anyone. I would pick them against most other teams, but I wouldn't like be like 80 or 90% confident.
Yeah, like I'm gonna say no for now, but I think that can change. And they play the Cardinals this week, so like I don't, they're not really going to be tested. But the schedule does get a little tougher. They play the Chargers in week 7. They play the Chiefs in week 12. We'll see where the Chiefs are at that point. They play the Niners late in the year on Monday Night Football. So their schedule, I mean, they play the Jags twice. The Jags also 4-1. Like they haven't, like I said, like they're 4 wins. 3 of them are against 3 teams that absolutely stink. So I'd like to see how Daniel Jones plays against better competition. Um, so I'll say no for now because like Daniel Jones, while he's played really well this year, I do still have a difficult time trusting him in a big game against going into Buffalo and winning a game. Playing Kansas City if the Chiefs can get their shit together, which is an if at this point. I'm a little pessimistic about the Chiefs at the moment. and leading the Colts to a victory there. So I'll say no, but I think that can change. I'm willing to change my opinion there. All right, sticking in the AFC South, the next team we have is the Jacksonville Jaguars. They are also 4-1. Of course, they had that miracle victory over the Chiefs on Monday Night Football. Kind of a weird team. Like Trevor Lawrence has not been great this year. He's thrown 6 touchdowns to 5 interceptions. Their defense statistically isn't awesome, but they're very opportunistic. They lead the league in takeaways. They're getting a big year from Devin Lloyd, their inside linebacker. Travis Hunter is starting to come on a little bit. He's made some really nice plays the last couple weeks from the receiver position. Lucas, I'll start with this one. I'm going to say no. I think this team can make the playoffs because I think they've given themselves a big enough cushion. But do I think they can win a playoff game? Like I just don't trust them. I don't trust their quarterback. I just think this start is kind of fool's gold. I think they're more fool's gold than the Colts are. I think a lot of their success has been creating an unsustainable amount of turnovers, and that's not always going to continue. So I think they're solid. I think they're certainly better than I thought they'd be. I think I picked them to go like 7-10 this year. They've already matched their win total from last year. But do I think they're a real contender to get to the Super Bowl? My answer is no.
Yeah, I agree. I'll say this. Comparing them to the Colts, I think they have a higher ceiling because I think Trevor Lawrence has potential to be like a top 8 quarterback if he plays at his best. And I do think that defense is so good at creating takeaways that if they could like improve at getting stops naturally, because they did get lit up by Kansas City for the most part, but they got the one difference making play. But I also think their floor is a lot lower than the Colts. Like I think if there's one team that's more capable of collapsing, I'd probably pick the Jags. But they have the quarterback. They have 2 wide receivers who were first round picks.
I mean, you believe in Lawrence more than I do. I mean, I do think he's more talented than Daniel Jones is. But
I think he has the talent. Like I'm not like Nick Wright where I think he's a top 10 quarterback. But I do think he has that juice in him to be like a top 8 quarterback and play up to that level. And they have 2 wide receivers capable of being bona fide number ones. They have a good play caller, and they have a decent pass rush and a defense that can force takeaways. So they have a higher ceiling. But like Trevor Lawrence has just been too up and down. That defense isn't very good if it's not forcing takeaways. So that does lead them to a lower floor. So I think if you were to ask me who's more likely to go to the Super Bowl, I'd probably say the Jaguars. But if you're asking me who's more likely to win a playoff game, I'd probably say the Colts, oddly enough.
That's fair. And we'll see how that shakes out. 2 teams that have really been surprises in the AFC South this year. All right, let's go to the AFC West. We have the LA Chargers, who in September looked like borderline contenders. They started 3-0, but they've dropped 2 straight to the New York Giants, which is a terrible loss, and to the Washington Commanders. And the big issue for the Chargers is their injuries, particularly on the offensive line. They are beat to hell up front. They did trade for Odafe Owe today to help their pass rush, but I mean that's not going to keep Justin Herbert upright in any capacity. Lucas, I'm going to say no. I don't see it with this team. I think they're solid if they're healthy, but they're not healthy. It kind of feels like an issue with the Chargers going back to the Phillip Rivers era, where like their entire team's on IR by week 4, and it really kind of limits the ceiling of the team. I think they're the team that got off to a really hot start, and we see this every year. They got off to a really hot
Sorry about that, everyone. Owen cut off for a little bit. His internet is a little shaky. Mine is confirmed to be fine.
I'm
Owen, are you
back.
better?
I'm
Yep,
back.
I think your internet cut off a little bit because I checked mine and mine was good on my laptop. So unfortunately, I think that
Okay.
one's on you. Most of the time it's on me. But yeah, I think you were
Yeah.
talking about the Chargers and you said they weren't contenders and they were unhealthy.
I say no.
Finish your
I say
thoughts.
no. I don't trust them to stay healthy. I think that start was a little fugazi.
Yeah, I don't think they deserve to be 3-0. I think they probably should have lost to Denver, like you said. I think they're going to be a playoff team, but like I'm not confident they're going to be a playoff team. Like it wouldn't shock me if this team completely disintegrated, like and just like went 8-9. Like it wouldn't shock me. They're just getting hurt. Like they're just getting injured left and right. I don't think they're super I don't think they're as talented as like their 3-0 start would indicate. I still stand on business. I think they're well coached, but they just don't have the horses. I think if they lose to the Dolphins, then I think the wheels
Oh,
could come off
God
very fast.
Almighty.
I don't think they will.
Yeah.
I don't think they will. But like, no, I don't think they're contenders. I think they're a good team that like could win a playoff game if you're not careful because they do have the quarterback and the coach. That the coach's experience, been to a Super Bowl, won road playoff games before, but they also have the quarterback that's top 5 potential. But I don't think 1-53 this team is good enough to win 3 to 4 playoff games.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I tend to agree there, which a lot of people thought they were over the first 3 weeks. All right, sticking in the division, the Denver Broncos started 1-2. They've won 2 straight, with a huge win in Philadelphia against the Eagles, handing the Eagles their first loss in a long time. Uh, Look, I picked the Broncos to make the playoffs for the year. I think their defense is really good. I think they're very well coached on both sides of the ball, but I have a very difficult time trusting Bo Nix. I think Bo Nix at times has been competent this year, but most of the time has been pretty, inconsistent. He's played a little better as of late, to be fair to him, but I'm going to say no. Like, I just don't trust their offense. It's not just Bo Nix. They really don't have the receivers really aren't anything special outside of Cortland Sutton. They don't run the ball that well. Um, they have a good offensive line. So, like, that's probably their best part of their offense, but I think they're pretty average at every other position, quarterback, rushing attack, receivers. And while their defense, I do think is good enough to get to a Super Bowl, I just think their offense limits them. So I'm going to say no.
Yeah, I agree. I think that defense is I don't think as good as people think it is. I think it's a quality defense. Like I think it's competent. I think it's really good. It could be great on certain weeks, but I don't think game in, game out, I trust them to get stops because they flat out did not play well against the Colts. I don't think they played that well against the Chargers either. And I don't think they played that well against the Eagles, relatively speaking. Analytically, they were a disaster against the Eagles. But again, more so, I think it's their offense. I don't trust Bo Nix to win multiple road playoff games. Maybe they win a game if they're lucky, but I think they're going to be one and done.
Yeah, they kind of seem like a team that could give a team a tough time in a wild card game because if Peyton out coaches like a McDermott or you know Shane Steichen or Liam Cohen or somebody, but again, like Bo Nix is a guy who, again, like I need to see a little more before I can trust him in the playoffs. They got there last year and it did not go great again, even though they were overmatched in that game. All right, next up, we have a team that might win its division by default. The Pittsburgh Steelers. They're 3-1. They're coming off a bye. Um, the thing that benefits the Steelers is that the rest of the AFC North really kind of fell apart. I mean, the Browns are terrible. We already knew this. And then the Ravens and the Bengals, like their seasons are kind of just going to hell with injuries. The Bengals, I don't know, like they're just not that good to begin with, to be honest with you. They're even worse with Burrow out, obviously. So the Steelers, they're kind of similar to the Jags, where a lot of their success has been creating takeaways on defense because analytically their defense has not been that good this year. Offensively, they're kind of weird. They're averaging 24 points per game on offense, which is good. Which is pretty good, actually considering how much the Steelers' offense has struggled in recent years. But if you watch their offense, they're very limited in what they can do. They don't really push the ball down the field. It's a lot of quick passing game. Like the ball needs to be out in within like 2 seconds. And if that happens, like they've been able to move the ball, they can create some plays there. But if Rodgers has to hold the ball for a while, it kind of is a train wreck. So I'm going to say no. I think they'll win their division. So I think they'll be a playoff team. Maybe they could win a game depending on the matchup if they get like the Patriots or the Jags or someone of that caliber. But I mean, I don't think they're a Super Bowl team in any capacity. I think they're really benefiting from the Ravens and the Bengals completely falling apart.
Yeah, this is Steelers not a Super Bowl contender. I think they'll end up winning a game because 3 teams have to win a playoff game in each conference. So, like by sheer numbers, there are going to be 4 teams in the divisional round, and I think the Steelers will end up being one of those teams. They have Rodgers, so unless they get a really, really unfortunate matchup in the wild card round, like the Chiefs or something, they'll probably end up winning. But this offense just is not as good as maybe their points per game would indicate. I mean, if you look at it game by game, they went 34, 17, 21, 24. 2 of those were just not very good. They scored 3 touchdowns against the Patriots, and that was a game where the Patriots probably outplayed them.
Oh,
And
they
the
did. Yeah, they had
Steelers,
5 turnovers.
Yeah, it's just they benefited from they got 5 turnovers on defense, still only got 3 touchdowns. I kind of be concerned. And then against the Vikings, I thought that was probably their best game of the season when you factor in quality of opponent, even though they played Carson Wentz. I thought their defense played well in that game, but their offense just hasn't been very good. Their pass protection is not very good. The run blocking is not very good. Their receiving group outside of DK Metcalf doesn't really impress me. And I think Jalen Warren's been more potential than like talent. I know he's hurt right now, but I'm just not like scared of anything on their offense. Unless the only thing I'm scared of is if Aaron Rodgers can turn back the clock to January and February 2011 Aaron Rodgers or 2020 regular season Aaron Rodgers, then I'm scared. But I'm just not terrified of anything on this team other than maybe I think their pass rush is capable of like having one of those games of like just completely ruining it, like they did against the
Yeah,
Patriots.
yeah. Rodgers is not going back to that. I think we've seen enough since then. I think he's been like competent this year, but I do think against a good defense, it could be a long day for the Steelers offense in the playoffs. All right, last team here, team that we mentioned in passing, the New England Patriots. They're 3-2. They get a huge win against the Buffalo Bills on Sunday Night Football to improve to 3-2. They have a very easy schedule moving forward. Drake May has played like a top 10 quarterback this year. Mike Vrabel's looking like a good hire. Um, Look, I don't think they're contenders. I think they can be in the future, but as of 2025, I'm going to say no. I just don't think they have the talent to get there, especially offensively outside of Stephon Diggs. I do think they're frisky. I do think if you're a division winner, assuming the Bills win the East, which they will if they stay healthy, you don't want the Patriots coming to town. Like I'd rather play the Jaguars than the Patriots, personally. I'd rather play the Broncos than the Patriots. But I have a difficult time seeing this team winning more than one playoff game, if any playoff game. I do think they'll. I do. Like I said, I do think they'll be contenders maybe next year. But as for this year, I think it's another building block for rebuilding um, New England's franchise, which was obviously the class of the league for a while, fell apart in recent years. But for now, I'm going to say no.
Yeah, I agree. They're not. This team is not Super Bowl contenders. I think maybe this is one of the teams I was referring to that if the Patriots went to Pittsburgh, that could be a problem for them because they are a high ceiling team. But again, I just don't think they're experienced yet. I don't think their 1 to 53 talent is very good. I think their defense is more well coached than I think it is talented. So if they face an offense that could actually coach well and can outcoach Mike Vrabel, they're gonna get lit up, and I'm fairly confident about that. But we faced Buffalo. They faced Buffalo and they did a pretty good job. So what do I know? But maybe this is a team that like plays well down the stretch. Drake May is not a rookie, so like he is capable, I think, of ascending to being a top 10 talent quarterback. But I don't think that offensive line is. I think it's a little bit fugazi. I think that receiving core is not very good outside of Stephon Diggs, and I don't trust Stephon Diggs long term. I think they just need one more offseason of like collecting talent in the draft, adding depth in free agency, and just getting overall more experienced.
All right. So we say no to all six of them. The one that I'm most open to is the Colts. If they can like beat
Yeah.
some quality opponents down the stretch, I'll see it because I do think that team has a lot of talent and they're very well coached offensively and defensively. But the bottom line here, Lucas, the big takeaway is the AFC is not very good. Like it's not a very good conference. Like outside of I think the only true contender right now in the conference is the Bills. I'd say the Chiefs if they can get their shit together. It's a lot of mediocrity there right now. We'll see if that changes, which makes it very open for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
the Texans. I mean, I'll say no. I mean, they're 2-3. We're
yeah,
Yeah, like beating up the Ravens practice squad. I need to see a little more from Houston.
yeah. I think Houston. I think if they could figure out their offensive line, either figure out the current talent because they are pretty young there. They drafted a left tackle. If he can figure it out, or they make a trade, I could see them being scary to play because they do have the defense and the quarterback and the weapons to scare teams. But I just don't trust them. I don't trust their all line to block in a real playoff game. So I think they probably have like the third or fourth highest ceiling in the AFC after Buffalo and Kansas City. But like again, I don't trust their offensive line to hold up. Like this team might miss the playoffs just because they can't block.
Yeah. I need to see a little more as well. I don't fully trust them either. All right, that about wraps it up. The AFC is a conference that truly anybody could win at this point. It's a lot of interesting teams in there that we still don't know what they really are. All right, we'll stick in the AFC. We'll talk briefly about this when a quarterback trade was made yesterday. The Cleveland Browns sent Joe Flacco, who started the first 4 games for them this year, to the division rival Cincinnati Bengals. to replace Jake Browning, who obviously really struggled in his starts this year. So last week we talked about Joe Flacco being benched for Dylan Gabriel, saying like, yeah, that's probably it for his career. He's probably going to hang out in Cleveland's bench for the rest of the year and then retire in the offseason. But now he's the starter for the Bengals. They play in Green Bay on Sunday against Micah Parsons in that defense. Um, I don't get it, Lucas. Like, I get the Bengals making a move. You had to. Jake Browning was horrible this year. And when you look at the AFC, like we mentioned, it's not a great conference. It's a wide open conference. And they probably play in the worst division in football. Whereas, like, the Browns are awful. The Ravens are a JV team at this point, and the Steelers are not exactly a juggernaut. So I feel like you have to like tell your team like this season is still alive. We can improve. We can like make some noise, but obviously you're not going to do that with the way Jake Browning was playing. But there were better options here, in my opinion. Like, why not trade for Jameis Winston? I feel like he was the best option, in my opinion. Hell, a better option, maybe, or just as good option. What about Andy Dalton, Lucas? Andy Dalton played under Zach Taylor in 2019. He knows Zach Taylor's offensive system and was a relatively decent quarterback for the Bengals for about a decade. I feel like that would make sense. And upside, what about Anthony Richardson? Anthony Richardson has not exactly been good at this point in his career, but in that horrendous offensive line that the Bengals have. And one thing about Anthony Richardson, he's going to push the ball down the field to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Joe Flacco this year has been horrible. He got benched for a reason. He has 2 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. His quarterback rating is 62. Like, I just don't understand this move. Like, there are a lot of quality backups out there. Like, Joe Flacco? Really? Like, I don't know, man. It kind of feels like the Bengals, they're just, it's a very Bengals move. Everything that team has done over the past calendar is scratching my head.
Yeah, I don't hate this move as much as you. I don't love it. Like, I probably give it like a C minus. Like, I'm not a fan of it. But I think the Bengals just wanted a grizzled veteran who is experienced and is capable of like riding the ship on the fly. I think if this happened in like early August, the Burrow injury, they maybe would have gone for Winston, because then you give them like 3 weeks to learn the system, and maybe they just trusted Flacco to like come in and start within a week, because they already announced Flacco's going to play against the Packers on Sunday.
Yeah.
So possible they just they wanted like they trusted Joe Flacco more. I tried to look into it just now. I couldn't find a connection schematically between like Zach Taylor and Joe Flacco. So I don't know if they have previous experience together, and like maybe I just missed it. So if that was true, then that maybe would have made sense, because if they work together, then that makes some sense because they know each other's systems, but that's not the case. I just think it's because they saw Joe Flacco do this 2 years ago. He joined Cleveland late in the year and was able to lead them to success. Maybe that's how they're thinking. Like, let's just try and rekindle his magic. But I don't love this move. Given their offensive line, Joe Flacco's not the guy I want. Like, I think I would have gone for Winston too, but I don't think this is going to make a difference for the Bengals. I still think they're going to be a non-playoff team. I don't think it's a high ceiling move, but maybe they just trust the veteran who's going to be less turnover prone than Jake Browning, which is weird because Joe Flacco's not really a guy who's safe, if that makes sense.
I mean, he has 6 interceptions in 4 games. Like you said, if you want to go for the grizzled veteran who can learn on the fly, Andy Dalton seems like the guy. Like, considering he literally played under Zach Taylor in 2019. Again, like, we'll see how it works out. I don't have a lot of optimism for it. And I have a weird feeling they're going to be starting Jake Browning again this year. I don't think Jake Browning has started his last game, because if Flacco gets hurt behind the line, or if he performs poorly, I don't know. This Bengals team just seems like kind of a mess this season, and maybe it's time to blow some things up. But we'll see how it goes. Maybe I'm wrong. We'll see. All right, Lucas, it's time to make some picks. So, looking at our records, the records for our predictions this year, I am 52-25. You are 44-34. So, looking ahead to week 6, so there are 2 teams on a bye. That is the Houston Texans and the Minnesota Vikings. So the week kicks off tomorrow night, NFC East matchup between the Giants and the Eagles. I will take the Eagles there. I think they bounce back and win a game somewhat comfortably against a bad Giants team. And then in London, another international game. We have the Jets and the Broncos. I will take the Broncos in this one. I mean, the Jets they're really bad. I mean, the record speaks for itself. And then the early window, Ravens, Rams. I'm going to go with the Rams. They're going to bounce back after that rough loss last Thursday. And the Ravens just really they just don't have the horses at the moment. Lamar Jackson is not going to play in this game, so it'll be Cooper Rush once again. And I don't have a lot of confidence in Cooper Rush against Jared Verse and Kobe Turner and company up front. Panthers, Cowboys. I'll go with the Cowboys again. I know the Panthers are 2-0 at home. But I mean, Dak Prescott's played exceptional football this year. Carolina has one of the worst defenses in the league. So I think Dak will have another big game. Give me the Cowboys here. Colts, Cardinals. I'll take the Colts. I feel like that the Cardinals, I feel like that was like a season ending loss to Tennessee. I don't really see how they recover. And going up against a Colts team that's been really rolling this year. So I'll take Indianapolis pretty comfortably. Jags, Seahawks. I'm going to take the Seahawks. I know it's a long flight going from Seattle all the way down to Jacksonville, but I feel like the Jaguars are going to have a slight hangover from that big win on Monday night. They play in a short week. So give me the Seahawks in this one to bounce back. Dolphins, Chargers. I'm going to go with the Dolphins, or excuse me, the Chargers. The Chargers to get a win after a 2-game losing streak against a Miami team that just is ready to go home already. It feels like Steelers, Browns. I'll go with the Steelers. I do think this could be interesting because of the Browns' defensive front against a very immobile quarterback in Aaron Rodgers. But I just don't trust Dylan Gabriel to really do anything in this game. On the road, the Steeler, Mike Tomlin, I believe, is 18-1 against Browns or something. There's a stat like Mike Tomlin is 18-1 against like against the Browns at home, I believe. So I don't see Dylan Gabriel in this Browns team changing that. Saints, Patriots. I'll go with New England here. I think the Saints have played hard, but I just think New England is a team that is going to prove that they're not the same old Patriots that they've been the last couple of years, and they're going to go into New Orleans and win this game. Raiders, Titans, two really bad teams. I'll take the Raiders. Not much more to say. Neither one of these teams are going anywhere. Bucks, Niners. I will go with the Bucks at home. It looks like it certainly is trending towards Mac Jones once again starting for the 49ers. They have to fly all the way across the country. They're still missing guys. I like Tampa in this spot. Packers, Bengals. I'll take the Packers. I just don't have a lot of confidence in Joe Flacco against this team. And the Bengals, I just think they're just a very bad football team in their current form. And I like the Packers to get a win. Sunday Night Football, the Chiefs and the Lions. I'm taking the Lions. I don't have a lot of confidence in the Chiefs until they give me a reason to be confident in them. I think they just proven they make too many dumb mistakes. They shoot themselves in the foot too often. Detroit has not really done that since week one. I'll take the Lions, and I have the Chiefs dropping to 2-4. Monday night doubleheader, Falcons, Bills. I'll take the Bills here. I think they bounce back in Atlanta. And then the second Monday night game, Commanders, Bears. I'm going to go with the Commanders winning this game at home.
Okay. Cool. Okay, Axel. We got 6 disagreements. So let's see. A couple of these I'm going out on a limb, but most of these I'm pretty confident in. Okay, so Giants, Eagles. I am going to go with the Eagles, of course. I'm not going to overthink it. I think this game might be pretty close, but give me the Eagles. Broncos, Jets. I'm going to take the Jets to keep it close, but Broncos to win. Rams, Ravens. I am going to go with the Rams, but it's plus 7.5. I'm not sure if Lamar's not going to play. So if I was betting it now, if you're going to bet the Ravens, I'd probably just take a chance now, hoping that Lamar plays and that line goes down. But I'll still take the Rams to win regardless. Cowboys, Panthers. I'm going to take the Panthers here. The Panthers have been weirdly good at home. I think Bryce Young might have one of those games where he can just throw the ball, and hopefully Rico Dowdle can have a revenge game against the Dallas Cowboys. So I'll take the upset there. Cardinals, Colts. Give me the Colts. I think they're going to win in a blowout. Like you said, I think the Cardinals are cooked. Jaguars, Seahawks. Weirdly enough, we're on the same page here. Give me Seattle. I think Jacksonville might have like a pullback game. Like they had an emotional win, and the Seahawks came off a bad loss. They're going to want to get firing on all cylinders. So give me Seattle. Chargers, Dolphins. I'm going to take the Chargers. Part of me wanted to take the Dolphins, but I think the Chargers are going to win and cover. Browns, Steelers, pretty much the same logic as you. Patriots, Saints. I'm going to go with the upset here. I'm going to go with the Saints. I think regardless, I think they're going to cover plus 3.5. I don't think the Saints have been that bad this year compared to expectations. I think the Patriots, similar to the Jaguars, might have like a kind of like a letdown after an emotional win.
Yeah.
So I think maybe even if the Patriots win, I think it'll be close. So I wouldn't bet the Saints to win, but I would definitely bet them to cover. Then Titans, Raiders. I'm going to go with the Raiders here. I think they bounce back. I think Tennessee kind of had a fluky win, and they might think too highly of themselves. So not exactly a pullback, but maybe they're high on their own supply. Give me the Raiders. Niners, Bucks. I'm going to go with another. I'm going to differ from you. I'm going to go with the Niners. I think they'll be a little bit healthier. They have extended rest. I don't care that they're traveling across the country. I think San Francisco goes in and they win the game. Then Bengals, Packers. Packers. Not going to. I don't care about Joe Flacco. Lions, Chiefs, another different game. I think we differentiate all the primetime games on Saturday and Monday, or Sunday and Monday. I'm going to go with the Chiefs. Like, I was pissed off about that game as much as anyone, but I didn't look at that game and thinking, oh, they played like crap. I just think they were stupid. And maybe they are a stupid team that continues to play stupid down the stretch. But I thought the defense played well in stretches of that game. They just weren't clutch. Maybe that's a problem. But I think that secondary can match up well against the Lions receiving corps if they have their personnel correct. I think the Chiefs offense can move the ball. I think this team at this moment must be feeling the sense of urgency, and they'll come out swinging. But hopefully I'm right, but I'll probably be wrong. Bills, Falcons. I'm going to go with the Falcons here. They're coming off a bye. I think this is a game where I think Raheem Morris is going to want to make a statement. Like, it's the first home primetime game of the season for Atlanta. I don't even know if they had a primetime game last year. Oh, they did. That Thursday night game against Kirk Cousins in the
They had a Sunday night game against the Chiefs as well.
Oh, I'm talking about the last one. The last one was, I think they had the Bucks on Thursday night where like Kirk Cousins threw like 500 yards. That was the last one. But like, I think this is the first like home game of the season with Raheem, for the Falcons. I'm kind of stumbling across my words there. I think the Falcons are going to win coming off the bye. Maybe this is a bounce back game for the Bills, but I think the Falcons can move the ball in both the running and passing game against Buffalo. Like, I think, but this is a Penix game. If Michael Penix can play well, that's a problem because the Bills are good against offenses that are one-dimensional and can't do one or the other, even if they're great at one. But if they play an offense that's competent at both, running and passing, they tend to struggle because Sean McDermott tends to go all in on one side of on one part of the offense. But like, if they play an offense that could run or pass out of any personnel group, that's going to be a problem. I think Atlanta can do that, but that just depends on how well their quarterback can play. So give me Atlanta in an upset. Then Commanders, Bears. I think Ben Johnson coming off the bye is going to want to come out swinging. Commanders might be feeling themselves a little bit too much because they played a Chargers team that is massively injured. So I'll take the Bears to win, but I'm not like super confident in that one. I wouldn't like bet any money either direction, but I'm just going to go with the team off the bye.
All right, so we'll go through it, recap. So we both take the Eagles, we both take the Broncos, we both took the Rams. I took the Cowboys, you went with the Panthers, we both went with the Colts, we both went with the Seahawks, we both went with the Chargers, we both went with the Steelers. I take the Patriots, you took the Saints in an upset. I think we both went with the Raiders. I went with the Bucks at home, you went with the Niners. We both went with the Packers. I took the Lions, you took the Chiefs. I took the Bills, you took the Falcons in an upset, and I took the Commanders, and you took the Bears. All right, that wraps up our Week 6 picks. Lucas, do you have any parting thoughts?
I do not. I'm catching up slowly because I think I've been slowly getting my picks have been not slowly, but they've been progressively been getting better as the season goes on. I'm in a pick'em league with our friend Matt Verderam, who will probably be on the show here in a couple weeks. He is scheduled to be on before the Commanders game, just breaking some news there. But yeah, I'm in a pick'em league with his Patreon group, and I was like third to last 2 weeks ago, but now I'm middle of the pack, so I'm but that's against the spread. So I'm slowly climbing up. I'm hopeful my straight up picks with you the tide's going to turn, and we have 6 disagreements. I'm hoping to go at least 4-2 in our differences.
Awesome. All right, Lucas, thank you very much for joining us. Lucas and I will be back on Tuesday to recap Week 6, and then we'll be back a week from today to look ahead to Week 7. We're nearing the midway point of the NFL season. Crazy how fast it goes by. All right, Lucas, thank you for joining us, and we will see you all on Tuesday.